Check this out.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today we are wrestling with a single, and I have to say, a highly provocative piece of source material.
It really is.
We're looking at excerpts from The Brown-Skinned Messiah, a true portrait by the Reverend Point Blank.
Thank you, Mike and Nika. All right, let's get with it. I want to ask a question for you that are watching today. I would like for you to hear about the things that I'm about to say. Don't just listen in any kind of way. So the question is, do you think you know who God is? Probably some of you think he's the Wiz. Or is it someone else your soul is secretly seeking or thinking? Is God a person you can point to? A face you can paint? Do you know who he is? Do you know who he ain't? Is he an image you borrowed from someone else's imagination? And when you get home, do you start playing it on your own station? Is God just a religion you were handed in your face? Or maybe he's a God that you created from your own race? Or maybe a culture that you married into? And when you found out it was wrong, what did you do? Understand this, before any one of you knew your own name, the Spirit was here already, and God was to blame. Because from where I stand, all the things I had to see, the fire that I went through, I had no idea who I would be. So know that I know him because I know me. In fact, God forged me from the Spirit that you see. In the humble birth, through human form, there came Mary and Joseph with powerful names. Yet, within him burned a solar light, a consciousness beyond mortal sight, an emanation of the infinite source, a bridge between the human and the divine, of course. In his youth, memories were scattered and faint, a journey awakening and a spiritual saint. He traveled far beyond the native lands, to Egypt, to India, with wisdom in hand. In hidden places, ancient truths he found. Through fasting and meditation, his soul abound. An avatar, a channel of the divine flow. His nervous system aligned where the truth glowed. But as he taught in the liberation of that inner light, some powers would shun that radiant sight. They feared the awakening and the loss of control. And so they crafted a narrative and a twisted scroll. Through counsels and edits, his message was bent. From the liberators to the idols, the truth was spent. Yes, but the truth light never fades away. It thrives in the hearts of those who pray. Through hidden lineages, they stayed alive. Now it rises again, and it will forever thrive. Not through temples, not through kings, but through each one of the souls that remembers to sing. We walk of the embodiment of the light, a testament of truth that's shining bright. And so the story untold, a journey so grand, a call to awakening so we could understand. In every heart, this light will burn, for whatever is within you, the facts will return. So, if you really don't believe me and you don't really get it, go to the internet. Google is with it. Point blank. Enjoy your time.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today we are wrestling with a single, and I have to say, a highly provocative piece of source material.
It really is.
We're looking at excerpts from The Brown-Skinned Messiah, a true portrait by the Reverend Point Blank.
Right.
And our mission for you, the learner, is, well, it's simple, but it's also challenging. We're going to unpack this material's assertive, really unyielding argument about the visual and historical identity of Jesus Christ.
And not just that, but the authors claim that this identity was actively scrubbed from, traditional Western art.
Exactly. This text demands we look at not just what is being claimed, but the deep historical and cultural forces the author believes were at play in shaping this global figure. Okay, so let's unpack this. Reverend Point Blank makes a firm declaration right away, immediately challenging the image most of us probably grew up seeing. Where does the source even start in defining this identity?
What's so fascinating here is that the author doesn't lead with theology at all. They lead with, like Girton's son, the source roots Christ's identity in the physical geography of the Middle East, insisting he, and I'm quoting, walked the dust of ancient lands beneath a burning eastern sun.
That's not just flowery language for its own sake, is it?
Not at all. It's the foundation for a historical claim about his physical reality.
Right. The language is designed to place the subject firmly in a specific historical climate. The source gets very specific about his origins, calling him a child of Judah's rugged hills, where, and this is critical, every tribe was brown as one.
And then comes the contrast.
Yeah, the text explicitly contrasts this with a familiar artistic tradition. Not pale, not white from fairy tales the painters tried to recreate.
It's an argument for geographical and historical realism over artistic license. If we look at the core of the Reverend's argument, the identity is tied directly to the physical environment.
So the place makes the person.
In a way, yeah. He is described as Middle Eastern to the bone, a man of holy soil and wind, where his skin reflects the earth itself, shaped by desert heat and prophets rise.
That phrase, skin reflects the earth itself, that's really striking. It's almost a statement of, geographical determinism.
Precisely. And in fact, the source argues that you cannot separate the spiritual man from the physical place. You wouldn't expect a man living and walking in 1st century Judea, a region defined by intense sun, migrations, ancient tribal makeup, to have the visual characteristics often given to him in later European art.
With a basic mismatch.
A huge mismatch. And the author says this brown-toned appearance is a deeper truth the West denies, which forces you, the reader, to confront the difference between historical expectation and cultural depiction.
So the fundamental historical fact being asserted is that the figure was specifically a Jewish man with brown-toned skin and Nazarene in every stride. The source is arguing that to accurately portray his historical role, you must first acknowledge the reality of the man who literally walked that ground.
Yes. It's an assertion designed to yank the image out of the Western narrative and place it firmly back into its original geographical and ethnic context. This focus on physical truth really sets the stage for the book's central conflict.
Which is the claim of deliberate revision.
Exactly.
That's a really smooth pivot, because now we get to the truly challenging part of this text. The assertion that this historical fact was deliberately suppressed. Reverend Point Blank doesn't just suggest, a gradual evolution of artistic style.
No, not at all.
The source alleges a specific, intentional act of deception.
That's right. The author claims they took his story, changed his face, repainted him in lighter tones. The source alleges that the story was revised line by line. This wasn't incidental. It's framed as an act of calculated cultural manipulation.
They stole his image.
That's the quote. They stole his image.
That specific phrase, that gets right to the heart of the debate. It frames the visual change as an act of theft, not just art evolving over time.
It is a sweeping claim.
It is. But does the source offer a sense of when this revision supposedly took hold in Western art and why? What was the motive?
The author suggests the motive was highly cultural, perhaps even political. The argument is that this manufactured image was created to soothe their guilt and guard their heart, and that his natural tone to the Western world, they fled.
So it implies that as Christianity spread north and west, the historical reality of its Middle Eastern, Jewish origins became inconvenient.
Or challenging, yeah. For the new, predominantly European audience and the emerging powers.
So the truth was made more palatable.
Right.
For a new, powerful audience. It wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about manufacturing an image that aligned with the rising cultural ego of the West. That's what the source alleges.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source argues this alteration wasn't just, a few paintings here and there. It was a large-scale attempt. It states it was a fact that kingdoms tried to hush, a truth their doctrines couldn't hide.
So the implication is that this manufactured, light-toned image became integrated into the very structure of the doctrine itself.
Which would make it incredibly resistant to change.
Of course, because challenging the image meant challenging the established ecclesiastical authority. And when you challenge something enshrined in what the author calls sacred art, you are challenging the comfort of tradition.
Absolutely. The source challenges the world to unlearn the lie they polished into sacred art. And just think about that phrasing. The lie wasn't just tolerated, it was revered, polished.
This transition from historical reality to sacred art is the mechanism the Reverend identifies for locking the false image into the collective mind, right? It makes the simple historical truth much harder to get back to.
It's a radical call for integrity. The author isn't asking for preference, they're demanding rigor. They assert that the historical truth was deliberately obscure, but that concealment is always imperfect.
Which brings us to the evidence.
The evidence the Reverend believes still exists.
So despite this alleged attempt by kingdoms and doctrines to cover it all up, Reverend point blank asserts the truth survives. What evidence does the source claim still whispers the historical reality?
The source presents history itself as the primary witness. The truth, the author claims, whispers loud and clear through ruins, scrolls, and weathered stones.
So a strong reliance on empirical data.
Very strong. Archaeology, ancient texts, historical records of the region and its people. The suggestion is that these facts will always dissolve illusion, ends the fears.
That's a powerful point. That empirical facts can alleviate the fear of upsetting comfortable religious traditions.
Mm-hmm.
The source personifies the truth, saying it don't bend to comfort's will, and it stands unbroken through the ages, blazing like a guiding light. This truth is said to survive in scroll, in bone, and in time.
It's really the ultimate argument for the permanence of historical fact. No matter how much time passes or how many paintings are created, the reality of the man, his physical appearance, his origins, his location remains recorded in the physical evidence of the past.
So, the author is telling us that the historical reality is there for anyone to see, as long as they are willing to remove the veil they once embraced. It sort of shifts the responsibility of discovery onto you, the listener.
It does. It asserts that every fact the scholars hold supports this brown-skinned identity.
Which raises an important question for the learner, right? If the source is correct, and every historical fact supports this identity, why does the cultural image persist so strongly?
And the Reverend's answer is that truth ain't concerned with what feels right. It's a deliberate separation between religious tradition, which often prioritizes emotional and cultural comfort, and historical rigor, which prioritizes verifiable evidence.
The call is for the listener to behold the Christ that was born, not the one that was fabricated later.
Exactly.
That brings us to the final part of our deep dive. Beyond skin tone and geographical origin, how does the Reverend point blank describe the character and legacy of the man himself, this brown-skinned Messiah?
The character is summarized in these powerful, active terms: a rebel, teacher, healer, guide. These roles are defined by challenging the status quo and exerting influence.
Not passive roles at all.
Not at all. They link the historical man firmly to a revolutionary purpose. He is described as fierce and kind, showing a complex humanity, and a brown-skinned brother walking bold with love that crossed each human line.
That emphasis on being a rebel is significant. It frames him not just as a religious figure, but as someone who actively challenged existing norms, walking boldly against the cultural and political powers of his time.
Right, and the source connects that historical Middle Eastern identity directly to this revolutionary character.
So you can't separate the two.
You can't. The source argues that to understand the full historical persona, the geographically determined, brown-skinned, bold rebel is essential to grasping the full spiritual legacy. The dual nature of his identity is underlined, a man of earth, yet fully divine.
The text emphasizes the necessity of remembering the story told in its original context to get to the true spirit of truth. So it's not just about correcting a visual detail.
No, it's about restoring context to the entire narrative of his ministry. The Reverend is basically arguing that the true revolutionary power of the message is diminished when the messenger is culturally appropriated and placed into a different ethnic and geographical lineage.
So the brown skin reality isn't just a detail.
It's central to his revolutionary identity.
Wow. We've taken a deep dive into a profoundly challenging text. It asks us to look beyond centuries of comfortable cultural imagery and face a historical argument rooted in geography, climate, and ancient documentation.
The key takeaway, I think, is the assertion that history holds the real facts, and they live in scroll, in bone, and in time. The source argues that this historical integrity has to supersede emotional attachment or cultural preference. It demands rigor over comfort.
And the source is relentless in its focus on the physical reality of the Jewish man with brown-hued skin. arguing that this truth was actively hushed by kingdoms and doctrines, which led to a lie being polished into sacred art. It forces you to question the reliability of visual history when it's presented through these cultural lenses.
The author demands we look past the convenient artistic representation to find the man who walked the dust of ancient lands. A brown-skinned brother, shaped by the specific environment of the Levant, not just some ethereal figure, but a grounded man of earth and revolutionary action.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? The Reverend Point Blank's work compels us to ask a really difficult question. If art and doctrine deliberately replace the foundational identity of one of history's most central figures, a process the author describes as literally stealing his image, what other historical truths might be obscured in plain sight, just waiting for us to actively unlearn?
That's something for you to mull over the next time you encounter a piece of traditional art.
Always remember that the truth, as asserted in this text, stands unbroken through the ages. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Did you prevent it? Or did it just fail?